Atlanta. If Joe Montana were NFL commissioner, replay reviews would change drastically. In short, the Hall of Fame quarterback said the league should either open up the purview of replay and make everything reviewable, or don't review anything at all. When it comes to something so controversial, review the damn things, a worked-up Montana said in a phone interview, only 2 days after he watched the AFC Championship game in Kansas City in a luxury box with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. When Montana quarterbacked at the highest level of his generation, from 1979 to 94 with the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs, there was no replay system over his first 7 seasons. From 1986 to 91, a limited version was tried out on a year-to-year basis, then scrapped. After Montana retired, calls for the return of replay finally compelled the league to experiment with it again, just in the preseason in 1996 and 1998. Since 1999, the league has employed a constantly evolving replay review system for all games. All these years later, the only so-called judgment play that can be reviewed is too many men on the field, whether called on the field or not. Otherwise, most called or uncalled fouls remain not reviewable. Montana told Post Media that not only won't the New Orleans Saints and their fans ever get over the blown, uncalled defensive pass interference foul on Los Angeles Rams cornerback nickel Roby Coleman, which probably cost the Saints their second-ever Super Bowl berth, but, as a result of what he saw as other replay blunders just hours later that favored the eventually victorious New England Patriots over the Chiefs, they won't get over it in Kansas City either. I think if you're going to review things, when it comes to these kind of deciding games, then I think you've got to review everything, Montana said. I think if there wasn't any video reviewing at all, it would be better. Let them make the call on the field, but don't show anybody anything, replay-wise, and let it stand. But if you're going to review things, and you have the ability to see what's going on in all this detail but don't use it, then you're going to have this kind of criticism. So you've either got to review everything, or you've got to turn the whole thing off. And they're not going to turn the whole thing off. So when it comes to these type games, review it all. Montana sounded particularly bothered by a few controversial calls and replays that favored the Patriots, such as a fourth-quarter catch by Pats receiver Chris Hogan on which replays seemed to show Hogan got some help from the ground in corralling the ball. But Chiefs head coach Andy Reid's challenge was denied by the league's Central Replay Command Center in New York City. It's hard to accept when you don't use all the cameras that were there, Montana said. In particular, Montana said he was chagrined to learn that in-stadium video camera angles shown on big video boards at stadiums aren't available to Central Replay Command, when one in Kansas City that night appeared to show the best angle of Hogan's possible trap. If we're watching it at the stadium, why can't they be watching it in New York, Montana said, so it's kind of strange. If you've got all the cameras, use the damn things. Montana further suggested that the NFL's Replay Command Center ought to be empowered to stop a game at any time if it feels a play should be reviewed, and not just as now in the last 2 minutes of a half, or in overtime. They've got to be able to do that, Montana said. If we want replay, we've got to do it right, so make everything reviewable, he said. To avoid the current maddening confusion of people endlessly asking, why can't we review this? Or this, it would fix what happened in New Orleans, Montana said, and it would fix what happened in Kansas City. Change OT2, Montana, says Atlanta. Joe Montana would amend the NFL's overtime rule, too, if he had his way. For decades the NFL has employed some manner of sudden death overtime, that often sees the losing team's offense never get the chance to take the field. As in the Jan. 20 AFC Championship game, when the New England Patriots won the overtime toss, elected to receive the ball and promptly drove for the winning touchdown. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, the likely 2018 league MVP, and the Chiefs' offense never left the bench between the end of regulation and game's end. New Orleans at least had a chance, Montana said in reference to the NFC Championship game, in which the Los Angeles Rams won also in OT, but after a Saints interception. What if the Rams had it first, and scored a touchdown? Then Drew Brees doesn't even touch the ball in overtime. That doesn't seem fair to me. These guys fight through how many games now, to come down to the last second? And you lose a coin toss. And that's why you lose a deciding playoff game. When you don't even get a chance to score, Montana suggested overtime perhaps should consist of an entire quarter of play, if only in the playoffs, to ensure each team gets at least one chance with the ball.